Let's click on File, and then go down to Project and over and down to Set. And let's make sure our project folder is set correctly. So I'm going to click on Exercise Files and then click on Unit 10 Project Folder and then click Choose. And now we'll go to File, Open Scene, and I'm going to open up book.mb. Alright, so here we have a model, a very simple model of a book, and we're going to unwrap the UVs and then create a texture in Photoshop. So let's start by splitting our panel into a two-panel view. So I'm going to click on this button right over here in the toolbar, and I'll move this panel, make this panel larger by clicking right here and then dragging towards the middle. And I'll go to Panels, and then Panel, and then UV Texture Editor. So here we have our UVs for this object, and as you can see, they do not look very good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use automatic mapping for this model. So I'm going to go to Create UVs and then go down to Automatic Mapping, and I'll go over to the Options box. And we'll do 6 planes, fewer pieces. This is all okay. All these settings are okay. So I'll just hit Project, and here we go. We've got our 6 projections, and we've got our UVs laid out over here. Okay, so let's see here. I want to basically make 2 meshes. One mesh is going to be the paper inside of the book here. So it's going to be these 3 faces here. So I'm going to separate these from any of the other faces first, or any of the UVs first. So let's take a look at these 3 pieces. Now the settings that I have up here for the UV Texture Editor, I've got both of these buttons selected. So that makes my screen darker right here by clicking on this. So I've got both of these selected here. So I'm going to unselect this stuff and see what's attached. Okay, so this piece is not attached to anything. So I will go to UV. I'll select the UVs on this, and I'll right click and hold, and then go down to Select, and then select Shell. And then I'll hit W. I'm going to move this over to here. Alright, let's take a look at the other 2 faces that we want to separate. So we've got these 2 faces here. So I'm going to dolly in on this. And now I'm going to unselect, and so it looks like, yeah, there's nothing connecting to these faces either. So I'll just see if I can right click, go to UV, and select this stuff. And move it over. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to stitch together the rest of this stuff. So that would be all of this stuff and all the edges around here. So let's just start with the cover of the book, which is this piece right here. So I'm going to, let's see, we've got this cover, and let's see, if I select this face, yeah, so we've got 2 pieces connected right now. That's fine. So I'm going to right click, go to UV, and I'm going to select, let's just select this corner down here, and then right click and go to Select, and then select Shell. I'll just move this out of the way down here. Okay, and let's see what is connecting this to the rest of the mesh. So I'm going to right click and go to Edge, and let's see. So here we've got an edge right here and an edge over here. So let's see if we can move and sew this edge. Okay, so when I hit the Move and Sew button, it moved it over to here, and I don't want this piece over there because we've got something else right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and go to UV, and I'm going to select this piece down in this corner right here. I'll then right click and hold and go to select and then select shell. And I'm just going to move this over down to here. And now what I'll do is I'll just go to edge, select this edge, and now I'll move and sew these two pieces, and they're now connected. Alright, so let's select this edge and see that's connected over here. So I'll hit the move and sew button and it's going to drop it over here. So now we've got, if we look, I can right click and go to edge and then select all of the edges here. We can see what we have so far. We've kind of got the top of the cover. We've got the top, side, and the back of the cover all connected into one UV mesh. So now we just need to take care of these sides, kind of the edges, and the inside of the cover. Okay. All right. So let's just select this edge at the top and see what that's connected to. Okay, that's connected to this piece. What about this? I can see that's connected over here. Okay, so that will connect this edge. Okay, so let's start here. So I've got this edge selected here, and let's move and sew this piece. Let's select the other edge over here, and then we'll move and sew this. And I'm going to right click, go to UVs, and let's move this a little bit closer here. Okay, now I'm curious, I want to see where these pieces connect. I don't see an edge for that. Let's check this edge here. Okay, it's connecting over here. Okay, let's see. So I don't want to work with these pieces yet. So let's see if I select this edge. Okay, so this edge connects with this piece up here. So let's go ahead and I want to take this face here. So I want to take the UVs for the top here, but I don't want the side UVs. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to select these two edges here and cut them. So I'll press the cut UVs right there. And now I should be able to select the edge down here and then move and sew this piece. Okay. And so I'll do the same thing over here. I'll select these two edges here, and then I'll hit the cut UVs right here, cut the edges on that, and I'll select this piece down at the bottom here. So we've got this edge down here selected, and now I'll go to move and sew. So we've got that piece connected. Alright, so let's see. Now I can move and sew these edges on the tops here. So I've got this edge selected, it's going to move and sew this piece up here, so I'll hit that. Same with this. I'll move and sew that. And these two at the bottom, I'll select just both of them, and I'll move and sew these. Okay. So if we select all of the edges here, you can see what we've got mapped on our UVs. It's increasing the number of faces or UVs that we've mapped. Alright, so now we just got to grab these pieces and connect them to our mesh. So let's see here. If we select this, Okay, these two edges correlate with each other, but this part of the UV is connected to this part over here, and we actually need to separate these two pieces so that they can connect, because if this edge, let's see, where does this edge connect? Over here. So this edge, I'm sorry, this edge right here connects at the top. These two edges connect, but if we select this edge, it connects over here on the side. So we have to cut these. So I'm going to go in and select this diagonal edge right here and the diagonal edge up here. So I'll hold down Shift to select both of them, and I'll cut those edges, and I'll do the same thing over here. Cut this and cut this. And now I should be able to just select an edge and then move and sew that piece. And the same with this piece on the side. Can move and sew that. And on the bottom here, select the bottom edge right there and move and sew that. So same process over on this side. I'll actually just I'll select all three of these edges. 1, 2, 3. Since I've separated these three faces here, I can just hit the move and sew button and they all pop, they all connect down here. So now we've got the entire cover of this book unwrapped onto a flat mesh in our UV texture editor. And let's see, what else? I think I'm forgetting. Okay, so this face right here and this face over here, I forgot about these two. So if I select this edge at the top right here and the bottom edge right here, so I've got the top and bottom edge of the binding right in the center of the cover. You can see they're matching up with these two faces over here. I'll just hit move and sew to connect those. So now I'm going to right click and go to UV, and I'll select the entire mesh and just move this up. And then I'm going to take these pieces and move them down to here. And I'll use my rotation tool here to rotate 90 degrees, and I'll just drag this up a little bit. And then I'm going to select everything. And let's see, I'll just move it to the center as best I can. And then I'm going to scale this up. I want to maximize my UV space. So by doing this, by scaling these up all the way to the edge, it means that I can have a higher resolution image on each of these faces. Okay, so the higher the resolution the image is, the more pixels you have, the better your model is going to look when you view it and when you render it. So before we export, I'm just going to right click, go to object mode here, and I'm going to go to the Hypershade. So I'll go to Window, Rendering Editors, and then Hypershade. And I've got a material mapped on here, and so if you don't have that, I'll just create another one. So I'll go to my Lambert right here, create a new Lambert, double click on the Lambert, and over here on the color attribute, I'll click on this checkered button, go to File over here, and then over back in the attribute editor, I'll click on this folder icon, and I'll just choose our UV number grid image right here. And so we've got our grid. These are all squares with numbers displaying, so we can see if there's any stretching or any anything wrong with the layout of our UVs. So I'll just hold down the middle mouse button, drag this onto the book, and then I'll press 6 on the keyboard to display that image. So I'll close the hypershade now. And I'm looking, and all of the squares are showing up. They're not distorted. Everything looks proportional. You can see the texture wrapping around on the numbers 55, 65, 75, etc. You see that texture wrapping around nicely. Okay, so we've got our seam here, on the inside where the pages should be, and that's these pieces down here. So everything looks good. So I'll close the channel box here. And we're ready to export these UVs. So make sure the object is selected and that you are in object mode. And then we'll go over here to the window for the UV texture editor. I'll go to polygons, and then I'll go down to UV snapshot. Right here, I'm going to export this to the Unit 10 project folder, and I'm just going to use my arrows on the keyboard to go all the way to the end of this path, and it's out UV underscore, let's do book, and then under the size, let's increase the resolution on this. Let's try 2048 and see if we can get away with that, if our images are large enough. Our image format is going to be Photoshop, and then I'll just hit OK. So now I'm going to switch over to the program Photoshop, and we'll continue this in part 2.